You wanna know why you're still not growing even though you're doing more than enough sets? Well, it's because half of your sets barely even do anything because you're doing straight sets. If you don't know what straight sets mean, it's basically like a 3x10 or a 5x5, where you do a couple of sets with the same weight and every single set has the same amount of reps. And the problem with this is that you're constantly losing performance, so you cannot actually do 3x10 with a weight that's challenging with having the same intensity on all of your sets. If you do 10 reps to failure with weight, the second set is probably either going to be 10 again or maybe 9, but even if the second set was 10 again, the first set is definitely not gonna be 10, because you're gonna be more tired and your performance is gonna go down. So what this results in is that your last set is gonna be way more intense than your first set, so you could have actually done more in your first set and just generally in your earlier sets, which is already a problem in and of itself, but an even bigger problem is that now the most effective set of yours is going to be the last, which is the most intense, but that's actually not the most effective set, because then you're already tired. So basically when you will put the most effort into a set, that will already be sub-maximal because you're tired. Luckily for you though, the solution is pretty simple. Use rep ranges and dynamic double progression. So basically what you'll do is you pick a rep range like 6 to 10, and during every single set of that specific exercise, your reps are going to have to fall in between the rep range. So if you have a 6 to 10 rep range over 3 sets, it's probably going to be looking something like 10, 9, 8. Or maybe it's gonna be 8, 8, 7. But it shouldn't be 7, 6, 5, because then on the last set you're falling out of the rep range. And when the performance of your first set reaches the top of the rep range, you will increase your weight the next workout. So the rep range is 6 to 10. If you do 10, 9, 8, congratulations, you can graduate from the weight. Next workout, you gotta do more. Now, there's one thing to keep in mind. 2 big rep ranges won't make any sense and 2 small rep ranges won't really work. So for an example, if you're doing a bicep curl and you have like a 6 to 8, it's probably not gonna work, okay? In my gym, the dumbbells go up by 2 kilograms, which is around 5 pounds. So if I'm doing bicep curls with a 6 to 8 rep range and I'm doing 8 reps with 16 kilograms, I'm definitely not gonna be able to do 6 reps with 18 kilograms. So in that case, you will have to use a wider rep range, but also using a 2 to 12, an example, doesn't make any sense. Because if there's a way that you can only do for 2 reps, it's gonna take like, what, at least a year to get to 12 reps, but probably even more than that. So usually something like a 4 to 8, 5 to 8, 6 to 10, 8 to 12, 10 to 15, 15 to 20 is what works the best. Does this mean that I never use straight sets? Of course not. That would make way too much sense. In all seriousness, I still use straight sets on a couple of movements in a couple of scenarios. The first one is when I want to have perfect, pristine form. For an example, on a squat. Currently, I'm using a very specific quad-focused technique on squats that you have to pay a lot of attention to, and that's why I'm using straight sets on that, for example. I'm doing a 3x8 because let's say I can do 8, 7, 6 and I go up in weight the next workout. Now, even that 8, 7, 6 was very tough, so next workout when I'm going to increase the weight, I'm probably be going to able to do a decent amount of reps, but there's a high chance that my form will fall apart and I would just do a normal squat, and that's not what I'm trying to do. So I use a 3x8 on squats. When I got 8, 8, 8, that's when I'm going to up the weight. The second scenario is when I don't want very low reps. So on the bench, for an example, I'm doing a 3x10, which is actually pretty high. And on a Spoto bench press, I'm doing a 3x8 at the moment. And that's because I don't want very low reps in these. Let's say I'm doing a bench press, for an example, and I'm doing a 10, 9, 8. And probably the next session, if I'm gonna up the weight, I'm gonna do like maybe like an 8, 7, 6, and I don't really want to get a 6. And the same thing goes for the Spoto bench, where I do a 3x8. If I would do an 8, 7, 6 and then increase the weight the next workout, my last set would probably be 5 or 4, and I don't really want to go that low in reps. So that's why I'm doing straight sets. And the last scenario is basically the same, but it's more so when a weight jump that I can do is way too big for me and I have to spend more time on the same weight before jumping weights. That's something like a 1-arm cable bicep curl or 1-arm cable tricep pushdown. Because for an example, on 1-arm bicep curls, I do 11.25 kilograms, I think. It's a really shitty system, and it always goes up by 2.5 kilograms, so that's like 5 pounds or something. Increasing 5 pounds for one arm is insane, especially when you're already doing a pretty low weight. Like, I'm no mathematician, but I know that 2.5 kilograms when you're lifting 11.25 kilograms, that would be more than a 10% increase. That would actually be something like a 20% increase, or yeah, something like that. And I do a 3 by 8 to 12 on these, but if I'm able to do 12 reps on the first set, then when I increase the weight the next workout, I'm probably not gonna be able to do 8 strict reps with good form, because that would be way too much for me. So that's when I would spend a couple of extra workouts on the same weight and build up from, let's say, 12, 11, 10 to 3 by 12. And then sometimes when I know that even then is probably not gonna be enough, I will spend a couple of workouts doing 3 by 12. So for an example, maybe I will do 3 by 12 with the same weight for 3 consecutive workouts and just work on my form and then up the weight. And that way I do not fall out of the rep range. And let's say the next workout, I would be doing 3 sets and I do an 8 to 12 and I did 8 reps in the first set, again 8 reps on the second set, but I really grinded it out. And I know that there's absolutely zero chance that I'm going to get 8 reps on the first set as well. I'm just not going to do the third set. So this is how we can kind of smooth out the progression on movements where the jumps are crazy. And if you've never heard about dynamic double progression before, you're probably a novice lifter. In that case, I have 10 more tips for you here.